here. Fix this here. Ah,
Daniel, I'm really well. How are you?
you're really well. Wow. Why are you so really well?
It's December. It's the Christmas spirit. The smell of pine trees in the air.
Is it because school's almost over as well?
I'm not 16, right?
No, but the end of the end of your work. The end of your work is kind of what
I'm not a teacher.
No, I know. All right, forget it. I want to say a big thank you to our new Patreon supporters. A big thank you to Michael Demudis, Brenda Neville, and Leonie Sudrio. Big thank you for that. Now, you can support Irrational Fear by joining the Patreon yourself for as little as $3 US a month. The money goes to us paying the costs of the show and getting various folks to work on it. And also, what you get is an ad-free version of the podcast. You also get access to early lineups, and you also get access to our Discord server, where we kind of talk about the show together and comedy in general. And you also get, Lewis, 20% discount to live show tickets, because in the new year, we are planning some big live shows, including our 100th episode, Lewis.
I'm really excited about that. The big centenary, the ton. I'm thrilled. I thought once we got to the nervous 90s, we might, do a Don Bradman and go out with an average of 99.92 and never make it.
Who knows? There's still time to fail. There is still time to fail. We're going to be doing a 100th episode in Sydney at Giant Dwarf in February, so you'll be able to get discount tickets to that. But also, Lewis, we're going on tour. We've going to try and go to the Melbourne Comedy Festival once they announce what's going on there. But also, we're going to be doing shows in Newcastle, Cairns, and Thursday Island next year.
That's what I love about this introduction, Dan. I find out as much as the listeners.
By the way, you're going to need to get time off work to come.
Thanks for letting me know. I'll try to get the time off.
It's Christmas time, and there is no better way to tell someone you love them by saving the planet and giving them a Go Neutral sticker for their car. For every $90, Go Neutral buy 3.5 tons of carbon offsets, which is about the average yearly emissions for a car, and $5 of that comes to us, particularly only when you use the special link in our show notes. So please, to buy a Go Neutral sticker, head to the show notes, click on through, and buy a Go Neutral sticker. I'm recording my end of Irrational Fear on Gadigal land in the Eora Nation. Sovereignty was never ceded. We need a treaty. Let's start the show. Tonight, scientists are examining a canister of dust sent back from an asteroid for signs of early life in the universe that one day in the future can be made extinct by a mining company. And the 2024 Paris Olympics breakdancing. And at the 2024 Paris Olympics, breakdancing were featured as a demonstration sport to appeal to the core demographic of Gen Xers who have to pretend to be young. And Apple has released $900 income-cancelling AirPods. It's the 11th of December. It's the 11th of December. This is Irrational Fear. This is Irrational Fear. Oh, look, I just rewrote those jokes and I fucked it up. This is the 11th of December. This is Irrational Fear. Welcome to Irrational Fear, the show that takes the scariest stories in the news and cleans them up for dinner with your mother. I'm your host, former captain of SpaceX Starship, Dan Illich. Let's meet our fearmongers for tonight. One of the sharpest brains probing the zeitgeist and throwing truth bombs on Twitter. It's the master of mirth, hailing from Perth. It's Vidya Rajan. Welcome, Vidya.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
Very well, very well. How's Perth doing?
It's being Perth. It's really hot today. And for once, I think it's climate appropriate. I don't think it's climate change today.
And another day of trying to secede as well. Some hot takes from Mark McGowan not coming to the cabinet meeting.
Oh, I didn't see that. I mean, typical McGowan at this point. I don't know. Does his poll numbers go down a point? Is that why he brought out the secession talk? Yeah.
And she's one of the busiest stand-ups in show business. Despite being COVID-19 this year, she's absolutely played every major venue in the country that she's legally allowed to be in, fresh from gigs at the Sydney Opera House. It's Nikki Britton. Hello, Nikki.
Hello, mates. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for joining us on Irrational Fear.
My absolute pleasure. I've played a few venues that weren't legal as well, but, you've got to make a buck in a pandemic.
Where did you play? Where did you play?
Anything can be a venue, really, Dan. You just got to think outside the square.
You have the great privilege this year, Nikki, of having done the Opera House full and empty.
Yeah, bizarre times. I did the Joan Sutherland Theatre, beautiful theatre. 50
The
weeks of the
actual-
year is
Actual
booked out.
opera house. The
Actual, that's exactly right. The opera theatre at the Opera House, where they usually have the operas and the ballets and things. So there is no way that they were going to get these filthy mouth little raconteurs to do their 10 minutes in any other year, except now operas and ballets, the cast's too big to make it legal. So I did a streaming show there with 12 people in the audience who were all wonderful front of house employees from the Sydney Opera House. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they didn't really want to hear about my filthy jokes, but bless their hearts for being there. And then the other night we did about 700 in the Joan Sutherland. So
Started from the bottom, now you're here.
the best of times, the worst of times.
They say you play the Joan Sutherland Theatre twice in your career, once on the way up and once
No, I've got these COVID pounds on, Dan.
Coming up, we talk with Assaad Razzouk, who's the host of the Angry Clean Energy Guy podcast out of Singapore, about Australia's latest ranking on the Climate Change Performance Index. Spoiler alert, we are total pieces of shit. But first, here is our sponsor for tonight.
Ho, ho, ho. Peter Dutton here, wishing you and your family a Merry Christmas and reminding you that just like Santa Claus, I'm keeping a list of who is naughty and nice. Previously, if you were an Australian citizen and you made a joke about a minister, for instance, I don't know, looking like a potato, there was no way ASIO could legally tap your phone or jingle your bell. But as of today, ASIO can be my own personal elf on a shelf, and I can spy on anyone I want, foreign or Australian, or Australian that looks a bit foreign, or worse, the leader of the Greens. So, if you're going to make certain jokes about certain ministers, remember, potatoes have eyes, and they can see when you are sleeping, and they know when you're awake. Just consider yourself lucky that Santa Claus isn't coming by boat. Ho, 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 ho. Authorised, unopposed by Peter Dutton, Canberra.
Always have Peter Dutton's money. The first fear this week, the New South Wales Premier may have pulled off a magic trick more impressive than David Blaine flying with a bunch of helium balloons and farting on TV at the same time. Yes, a New South Wales inquiry into the allocation of more than $250 million of local government grants has heard that the Premier Gladys Berejiklian announced $255,000 for a council seat for a council in the seat of Wagga during the 2018 by-election, months before the application was lodged and processed. Some are saying this is not pork barreling. This is just extremely efficient distribution of money to an area of the country where the Premier's boyfriend happened to be a member of Parliament in. But what do we know? Did we know? Is it magic? Is it not? The Premier is, actually really good at magic. In October, the Premier made some documents relating to how $140 million worth of grants were allocated simply disappeared. Vidya, Rajan, how is the New South Wales Premier pulling off these incredible magic tricks?
Oh, I mean, she's just so skilled at this. She also managed to defeat COVID in between, her test and appearing in Parliament. She just knew she didn't have it. She's very intuitive. She's a really special woman. I don't know, but, I think maybe people are going too far on this one because it's really hard being a woman who has a job and has things to manage. And poor Gladys, who finally found love, and we're all coming down on her. Like, you've got to do things to keep a man. I don't know if you've heard of the love languages. There's 5 love languages. It's how you show love in a relationship. There's compliments, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and of course gifts. And I really feel Daryl Maguire, that's Gladys's boyfriend, I know that he's really into gifts. So she was just doing what she needed to keep him. So, feminism, back off.
Nikki, do you agree with this this hot take?
Look, yeah, I kind of respect Jixie for just being prepared to burn it all down for love. You know, she's got a lot on the line, and she's like, "Nah, mate." Like her and Daryl in their leathers riding off into the sunset on the back of a Harley, just down to Wagga or back or across the border. Maybe that's best at this point. I love that. I love that about her. You know,
it should be. I know that Baz Luhrmann's remaking Australia. I think I heard that horrible rumor, but I feel like it should be about Gladys and Daryl.
Absolutely. Absolutely. She's not a politician doing dirty deeds. She's a woman holding on with white knuckles
to a man. And I don't know if you've had a look at Daryl ever speaking or saying anything. What it really tells me is that they have a very physically satisfying relationship, because if you've heard him speak.
The Guardian actually reports so far the Premier has declined an invitation to or the inquiry. First of all, it's nice to be invited, isn't it? It's just nice to be invited somewhere to go do something. But secondly, a magician never reveals her tricks.
And it's also like, she's standing up for women. Like, I feel like the suffragettes walked so Gladys could run away from accountability.
Lewis, would you ever try to forge a relationship with a Premier to, get something funded of your own?
Well, again, I work for the ABC. I don't imagine I could be a good enough lover to get some money out of a Liberal Premier.
It's some incredible lovemaking.
What about you? Would you ever consider to forge a relationship with a Premier to get something funded of your own?
Look, I've had this kind of behaviour modelled to me through several international boyfriends who wanted visas. So, I'm familiar with how it goes. I definitely, look, is it someone who's going to fund the arts? Yes, I would have a relationship with a Premier or a politician.
And we would all support you.
I'm doing it for my community, guys.
As someone, just reading the news, it's quite confronting when you're trying to just stay generally across Gladys Berejiklian news, and you're getting sort of two streams of news. One is about her sexual relationship, and the other one is about pork barreling. Because when you just open the article, it says, pork barreling Daryl Maguire. You're like, oh, I hope this is money and not the other thing.
Yeah. I know. I'm just like, is this a new kink? Like, should I be like, do I need to read up on this? Should I be accepting of pork barreling? What's going on?
She's just fin dumbing him. It's actually
she's fin dumbing him. Yeah,
that's exactly what she's doing. I mean, both ways. I don't think we should divide pork barreling the political situation and pork barreling the sexual kink. I think have your cake and eat it too, Jixie.
Yeah. It's 2020.
If we've learned anything from reading the Daily Telegraph over the last couple of months, is that we shouldn't be yucking her yum.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think also pork bellying, I almost said.
It's dinner time.
It is. It really is. Pork barreling, it just feels like the equivalent of saying, "Oh, but everyone's doing it." So like, it's like I've definitely used that excuse in high school at some point. but everyone does it. No good, mate. No good.
Okay, second fear this week. Out of nowhere, 260 unidentified, unsolicited mystery seed parcels have been found in letterboxes around Australia this year. These are the ones that have actually made it through the net. Over 45,000 other seed parcels have been stopped at the border. Seeds make up 75% of biosecurity interceptions. The rest are my relatives bringing food back from overseas. Fearmongers, what the hell is going on here? Nikki, Britton?
Guys, I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but I'm just thrilled. This is the heartwarming story that we needed in 2020, because who's winning out of this story are the biosecurity staff and the sniffer dogs. They've had nothing to do in Australia for the last 9 months. They are thrilled to pieces. How are they going to work from home when their primary job is to just interrogate backpackers who have foreign nectarines in their luggage? You know what I mean? They haven't had a chance to inspect a hiking boot tread for any shred of organic material. How have their eyebrows coped with nothing to do for 9 months because they haven't had the opportunity to furrow in judgment when you suggest on your entry form that you have not brought back wood carvings from Fiji? Of course you did. The workmanship's impeccable. How could you resist?
That's so good of you to point that out, Nikki, because they've been really suffering. They haven't been able to racially profile anyone in so long.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
That's exactly
and like,
right.
but there's so many people, and like India's like a COVID nightmare. I know, so like that's usually their bread and butter. So
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And like truly, I think speaking of bread and butter, someone in the biosecurity staff team is creating this. I think it's a Breaking Bad situation. They're cooking up these bags of seeds in the lounge room. They're sending them out just so they have something to do.
Well, the United States Department of Agriculture believes that the mystery seeds, this is happening all around the world, by the way, in the US, they reckon it's part of something called a brushing scheme, which involves sellers sending unsolicited items, which are typically light and easy to ship. Some people have reported getting unsolicited Ray-Bans in the mail. Some people have reported getting unsolicited Grant Deniers in the mail.
Wow.
It's pretty phenomenal. And then they post fake reviews to boost sales. What are they trying to boost sales of? More seeds?
Oh no, you've already got the seed.
Yeah.
If it's a brushing scam, guys, I might have an idea about who's doing it. Guys.
Yeah.
Brushing hackers. All right, thank you so much.
Hey.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Yes. I'll see you guys all later.
Oh, wow. I was told this was going to be a pun-free podcast and I am disappointed.
I actually got some of those mystery seeds from China last week and planted it. And then this week, the plant convinced me to kill my dentist and feed it to him. So I'm a bit...
Wow. Very little shop of horrors.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Final fear for this week. Perhaps the scariest news story circulating the net this week is that KFC is making a feature film on the Lifetime channel starring Mario Lopez as Colonel Sanders. Here is the trailer if you've missed it.
What the hell are you doing?
A Lifetime original mini movie.
You don't answer my proposal, and now you're not answering my call.
I think I'm falling for the new chef.
Jessica is falling for Harlan.
The cook? Leave Jessica alone and skip town.
He has a secret recipe that's going to change the world.
Harlan claims to have some secret recipe.
A secret recipe? Spare me.
We all have our secrets. If you marry my daughter, I promise there'll be more long weekends in your future.
Mom, I have to tell you something.
We have a problem.
Secret's out, chicken man. I'll take care of this. You're ruining everything!
Kill him already!
Who the hell are you? Harlan Sanders, the new chef.
Mario Lopez is Colonel Sanders in A Recipe for Seduction. Premieres December 13th at noon. Only on Lifetime. Presented by Kentucky Fried Chicken.
That's pretty extraordinary. Who's excited about the KFC film? Nikki?
I mean, I don't even know where to begin. It is described as a mini movie, which I'm sure they mean short film, but have maybe just been under the pump when they were writing the description.
Wouldn't that be just a nugget movie?
Hey, here it is, just a bite-sized chunk of a movie. I have some like deep teenage fantasies about Mario Lopez from Saved by the Bell days. So I'm in a real conundrum here. I mean, am I turned on by the 11 Secret Herbs and Spices now?
Sure.
It's finger licking good, guys, on 2 levels now. That joke works on 2 levels.
I actually can't believe that this hasn't already been done as a parody porn. For all of those reasons. Like, are they going to get sued for copyright infringement by some like Pornhub subsidiary?
Yeah.
Oh, it's an ad for KFC. KFC are making it.
Yeah, it's not a parody, is it? This is legit.
It's legit. It's a 15 Basically, it's a 15-minute commercial for KFC. That's what it is. It's not. I hate to go all grew and transfer here, but do you guys think it's kind of effective marketing, Vidya?
I think it's amazing. It's so good. Like, it's such good. Everyone's gonna hate watch it, and they're gonna have a bucket of chicken in their lap while they do that because it's just, it gets in your head. It's perfect. I'm vegetarian, and I kind of want to buy KFC now.
Is it
Magic and Mario Lopez.
Is it going to spur, do you think, like a copycat series from like every fast food chain? Like, will there be a sort of like Ocean's 11 heist of the Hamburglar?
I'm really glad you brought this up because locally, some people are getting in on the act, including Red Rooster. Have a listen to this.
The following trailer contains adult themes and gratuitous plucking. From the people who brought you KFC's Recipe for Seduction and McDonald's Mayor's McTea's comes an all-new, all-Australian romantic fast food drama.
Are you ready?
You're so hot. Your legs, your breasts, and your skin is so... Well, I was going to say crispy.
Are you ready right now?
He's my man. You can get stuffed. Oh, yeah? You're the chicken. Oh.
So, if you eat chicken salt, is that like cannibalism or what? That's hot.
Are you ready?
A Rational Fear presents Red Rooter.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
One chicken, one cock, and a Sunday spit roast to remember. Red Rooter. When love takes you under its wing, it can leave you in pieces.
There we go. I think it's rated R. There you go.
Oh my gosh.
I think a heist Whopper, like a burger film, would be perfect because you can never hold those things without anything falling out of it. So you would really need a team.
Yeah,
I would pay for that. That is hot.
All right, moving back into truly scary topics, the heat death of the Earth. What exactly Australia is doing to prevent it? As it turns out, not very much, but we are getting better. According to the Climate Change Performance Index, when it comes to climate action, Australia has jumped from the bottom of the ladder up 2 rankings from 56 to 54. Well done, Australia. We are finally beating petro-states like Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Kazakhstan when it comes to climate action. We did it. One day we'll be better than Russia and Belarus and Lithuania. We'll get there. Who knows? In fact, this weekend there is a United Nations Summit on climate change where countries who have made recent gigantic leaps and bounds in their climate policy have been invited to talk to other world leaders about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And guess who isn't invited? Scott Morrison. There are 2 things that happened this week. On Saturday, the Age and Sydney Morning Herald celebrated a huge shift in climate policy from Australia because it was leaked to them that the federal government wouldn't be using Kyoto carryover credits in order to reach its Paris targets, which is kind of like celebrating Lance Armstrong for not using drugs to win the Tour de France. Well done. You didn't cheat the usual way. Excellent. Then on Tuesday, Catherine Murphy from The Guardian reported that inside this week's cabinet meeting, there'd been actually no decision on carryover credits and that we shouldn't basically give up on Australia cheating its way across the line with its Paris climate obligations too soon. We can still cheat. That's really good news for everyone. Joining us to tell us just how the world sees Australia at this moment is Assaad Razzouk. He hosts the podcast, The Angry Clean Energy Guy, but he's also the co-founder and CEO of a company that finances, builds, and operates renewable energy projects right across Asia. Assaad, thank you so much for joining us on Irrational Fear.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
And that just tells how does the rest of the world kind of see Australia at this moment?
I've been thinking about how to summarize it, and I think, maybe an image you can take away is the following. You're at a dinner party. Australia's there. Australia's got a massive gas indigestion and bloating, and it's making noises that are just annoying everybody else around that dinner table. And in Australia's case, that gas is actually real. It's because of an obsession with natural gas and coal and kind of fighting the battle of the previous 20 years as opposed to the next 20 years. And so it's in this odd situation where it's annoying everybody, but it's kind of enough far away that you don't have to worry about it daily.
I know that kind of makes the sense, but is there animosity between our neighbours and us about how we kind of not taking any action on climate change?
Animosity, you mean where? In New Zealand? Which neighbor?
Across Asia and the Pacific, as someone who's based in Singapore, do you kind of look at us and go, what the hell are they doing?
No, I think the best movement for change in Australia is going to be Australians themselves. It's not going to be pressure from abroad, except that the Chinese and the Japanese and the Indians eventually are going to buy a lot less gas and coal from Australia. And of course, the Australians, are making a difference at a citizen level. Because if you look at that climate change performance index ranking in detail, what you see is that in renewable energy, actually, because Australian households and some of the Australian states are actually enthusiastic about renewables, the situation could be worse. I know it's only 54th overall out of 61 countries, but it could have been 60th or 61st, because it is actually 60th on climate policy. So it's literally bottom of the pack on climate policy.
Of course, because the United States is about to go through an epic transition and an epic pivot to actually take over the rest of that list. And probably by this time next year, they'll be at the top of the list rather than the bottom. What advice do you have for Australia to kind of pick up its act?
Well, on current trends, next year, Australia will be together with Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kazakhstan, and Russia, bringing up the rear. Literally these four. So look, there is a problem with the governing party because they seemingly just don't get it. They don't want to get it. They have too many friends in coal and gas, and it's quite the difficult problem because there's not much of a solution other than the states doing more, the citizens doing more, and then an election. Literally. What else can be done if the cabinet just wouldn't do anything and actually is moving in some ways the wrong way by backing more gas, and so more bloating and so more noise, and it's going to just play out this way for a little while.
It's a bad dinner party.
Yeah, not a good one.
I mean, everyone's very down on us being last, but it's not always about whether you win or lose. Sometimes it's just if you're in the running, someone needs to come last.
Yeah, I don't think Australia can Steve Bradbury its way out of this one, which is our usual technique.
I love the fact that the Australians, Dan, I love the fact that the Australians are pissed off by and large. And so, something will happen because the government is not actually carrying public opinion. And, you're going to have massive fires again, right now. And so this is going to be even more in the consciousness. Fraser Island, I mean, I know it's got only 200 people, but it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And I think 2/3 of it is already gone. This is this year. And so the topic is going to stay in the consciousness of everybody. And eventually something is going to have to give at a federal level.
And when it comes to changing that federal level in terms of their policy, what do you think will be the main lever for that? What do you think will be the main reason that they will actually change their policy?
They won't hold the line once Biden is in charge, because between the China net zero commitment, the Japanese one, the South Korea one, and then the Americans on top of the EU, I think Australia will probably fall in line. Reluctantly, and problematically, but probably.
I don't know, Assaad. We have deep carbon lobby issues in Australia. All of a sudden, our biggest trading partner could be Russia if we're any.
Everybody does. Everybody has a deep vested interest carbon lobby, but eventually everybody got out of those shackles. And I hope, the federal, actually, it's not even a federal government problem. It's just a ruling party problem, So it's inside there. And even within that ruling party, the former prime minister is no longer with the program.
Well, I mean, the opposition still had a problem with a member of its party in the Labor Party basically saying that they should stop talking about climate change. So it's not hugely heartening in Australia.
It's not, but unfortunately, sadly, the new fire season is going to remind everybody, and I bet you this time the Prime Minister is not going to go on holiday and not come back again.
We have such short memories. I think nothing will change until we have an election in January.
Yeah, that's what you want.
Like
you want
a
to be
summer election.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the country's on fire, and we have to duck around the fires and the floods and the rain to get.
You
want
to have to battle through smoke to get to the polling center, don't you?
Yeah, you just can't allow time for another global catastrophe. Like by the time pandemic hit, you'd already forgotten about the fires, and next year, by the time the sandstorms or the locusts hit, we'll have forgotten about the pandemic. You got to get the election at the exact right sweet spot, the Goldilocks zone of climate change.
Yeah, you want to get it sometime between COVID-20 and COVID-21. That's when you want it.
Yeah, this is going to turn into a Fast and the Furious franchise. We'll be at COVID, still COVIDing.
At least a bushfire election, the sausage sizzles will be easier. Just reach out.
The only thing not powered by gas.
Not powered by gas, yeah.
Assaad, one of the most impressive kind of movers on the climate change performance index is India. India is in the top 20 of those nations, and you've got projects in India. What kind of changes have you seen across South Asia when it comes to embracing climate action?
India has been amazing, but so has, by the way, Bangladesh, for example. Look, the political will top down is there. You have to remember that in all these countries, in China, for example, as well, the population is dying from pollution. And so the issue is very emotive. It's not some concept about climate change that's moving anything. It's actually air pollution. And the coronavirus actually made air pollution worse, because there's been studies scientific studies over the last few weeks that actually showed that if you have higher pollution in this city versus that one, then the coronavirus death rate is also higher, right? So it's all linked. And so India is very serious about what they're doing in terms of renewable energy. Bangladesh is in the process of canceling something like 90 coal plants. The Chinese are incredibly serious as well. Everybody's getting really serious around Australia, and Japan, by the way, has just joined the bandwagon. And all these are Australia's biggest markets for its fossil fuels, right? So something, as I said, something is going to give. Otherwise, Australia asset prices are going to change.
For you, what's the most hopeful story you can tell us about this space? What's the one thing that you kind of, in your day-to-day operation keeps you going?
Well, if you flash back to the 2008, 2010, the coal capital of China, which I know very well because we've developed some renewables projects there, is called Taiyuan, the city of Taiyuan in Shanxi province. I remember when I first visited, you could see the problem from coal in the color of people's teeth and in their skin. If you visit today, the city is 100% electric taxis, 100% electric buses. There is literally no more air pollution in that town. And the coal mining has really cleaned up their act, on top of course, having moved quite a bit towards renewable energy. And so, frankly, if one of the poorest cities in China can do a complete turnaround, I think Australia can as well, Dan. So, that's I think the lessons. There's so many heartening lessons in China, and India, Bangladesh, Indonesia, the Philippines, along these lines.
Assaad, but we're just poor little Australia. We've just been like riding off the back of a mining boom for the last 20 years. None of us have any money. We spend it all on big TVs, Assaad. We can't possibly do it, Assaad.
The private sector is doing it in Australia. You know about that the Mike Cannon Brooks project, for example.
Show, yep.
Yeah, of eventually building a humongously large renewable energy power plant and exporting solar and hydrogen to Asia. And then Fortescue, the mining company, also seems to have seen the light and announced the single biggest commitment to renewable energy in the history of the world. Right? So people are moving in Australia, and they're moving big. It's literally just the governing party, which is just the odd man out.
Assaad, if you could say one thing to prevent you from getting a visa to Australia about Australian climate policy, what would it be?
To prevent me to getting a visa? That's an interesting one.
Your podcast is the Angry Clean Energy Guy, but you've been incredibly moderate on this podcast.
Oh, have I? No, well, I mean, I've been moderate, frankly, because the governing party, the future of Australia and the future of climate policy is simply not in the hand of the governing party. So they can pretend what they want. I mean, it's happening with or without them. So I am, angry and in some respects, but actually quite optimistic about Australia in particular, because nobody's listening. The private sector isn't listening, and the citizens aren't listening. I mean, you've got the highest rate of household solar in the world.
Plus, we're already so shit that it won't take much to get better.
Well, yeah, exactly. So as long as nobody's listening to the government, we're good.
Well, Assaad, thank you so much for joining us on Irrational Fear. It's great to get a global perspective of where Australia sits. A big thank you to all our guests tonight, Nikki, Britton, Vidya, Rajan, Lewis, Hobba. Have you guys got anything to plug? Assaad, do you want to plug anything?
No, thank you. I'm good.
Okay, great. So polite. Vidya, would you like to plug anything?
Oh my God. No, I mean, just follow me on Twitter. I put my sketches up there, etc., etc.
Nikki, Britton, have you got shows coming up?
I've actually written a Christmas pantomime that's happening in Sydney next week at Giant Dwarf on Wednesday the 16th. It's called Christmas is Cancelled. Yeah. And it's all about Santa being a cis, straight, white guy of a certain age, just really getting everything wrong and not being very woke. But it's actually very irreverent, super fun, and it's raising money for performers and artists who have had a really tough year. So
that is brilliant. Lewis, do you have anything to plug this week?
No, that sounds much nicer. Go to Nikki's thing.
Yeah. Cancel Santa.
Next Thursday. A big thank you to Roadmarks, the Bertha Foundation, Go Neutral, our wonderful Patreon supporters, David Bluestein, Ads, Gabby Bolt, Robbie McGregor, Jacob Round on the Teppanyaki timeline. Usually I'd say next week there's something to be scared of. Good night, but hang around because I'll leave you with Gabby Bolt's sultry Red Rooster theme, which was too good to not play on its own. Here it is here. We didn't know if we'd have to use it or not, so we kind of used a little bit of it. Let me play it. Here we go.
Do you remember all these Sundays when your mom would start to cook? You could smell the sweet aroma of a true blue Aussie chook. Remember how you used to think that chook was worth the wait? Red Rooster does so they cook it right to make it Sunday every day. Are you ready? This chicken is ready. Are you ready? Ready right now. Are you ready? This chicken is ready. Are you ready, red? Are you ready? This chicken is ready. Are you ready? Are you ready right now? Ready? This chicken is ready. Ready. Are you ready?
Thank you, Gabby Bolt, who's just put a comment on the Facebook stream. I can't believe y'all playing this right now.
I'm hungry.
Oh, yeah, me too. I'm going to go get myself a flavor wrap. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for a great show.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. That was great. Thanks, folks. I really appreciate the effort. That was really excellent.
Thanks, gang. That was fun. Sorry about my dumb camera fucking up again. It's becoming a fun tradition.
By the time we do the live show, you'll have a new laptop, I'm sure.
I don't know what makes you so sure, Dan. But thank you for your support of my finances.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Vidya. Thanks, Nikki.
Thanks, gang. That's fun.
Bye.
Thanks,
I'm
guys.
waving,
Have a
but
good
you
one.
can't see.
Bye.
Bye.